I should have known better. Looking back, the signs were all there, too subtle for a man drunk on love, but glaringly obvious to a man now hardened by betrayal. Claire wasn't like the others. Or at least, I thought she wasn't. I met her at a charity gala in Manhattan. It was one of those high-profile events where the rich pretend to care about something other than themselves for a night, all while networking over expensive champagne. I wasn't much for social gatherings, but when you're a man like me, a self-made billionaire who clawed his way out of nothing, these events are a necessity. She was stunning, not just in the way that turns heads, but in the way that makes you forget yourself. A silk emerald dress hugged her curves, but it was her confidence that struck me. She wasn't desperate to impress like most women I met. She played the game differently, cool, composed, as if she already had everything she needed. And that intrigued me. We talked that night. About business, about art, about the world. She challenged me in ways others didn't, and for the first time in years, I found myself slipping, letting my guard down. She laughed at my dry humor, her gaze locked onto mine like she could see something beneath the exterior of wealth and power. I should have questioned why she, a woman with ambitions of her own, would be so drawn to a man like me. But I didn't. I was too caught up in the illusion. Within months, we were inseparable. She moved into my penthouse, and the world saw us as the perfect power couple. Ethan Blackwood, the ruthless entrepreneur, and Claire, the brilliant and beautiful woman who had captured his heart. The wedding came faster than I expected. I had never imagined myself as the marrying type. Love, to me, was always an illusion, something people convinced themselves of until reality tore them apart. And yet, when I looked at Claire, I wanted to believe in it. I proposed in Santorini, under the golden hues of a Grecian sunset. She cried, whispered yes, and in that moment, I thought I had found the one person who saw me, not my empire. But the illusion didn't last. It started small. The way she seemed distant at times, staring off into space when she thought I wasn't looking. The way she never spoke of the future, as if she didn't see one with me. I ignored it, convincing myself that all relationships had their moments of doubt. Then came the arguments, subtle at first, then like wildfire. "You're always working," she'd say, arms crossed, frustration in her voice. "It's like I don't even exist." "I built this empire with my blood and sweat." "Claire," I'd counter. "You knew what you were signing up for." She'd scoff, shake her head, and storm off. And I let her, because I thought these were the normal battles of marriage. Until the night everything changed. It was raining that night, the kind of heavy downpour that drowns out the city's usual chaos. We had just come back from a dinner party where she had barely spoken to me. Her silence had been thick, her smiles forced. I had had enough. "Claire, what the hell is going on?" I demanded as soon as we stepped into the penthouse. "You've been acting like a stranger for months." She turned to me, arms crossed, her eyes cold. "Why does it matter, Ethan? You're married to your business. I'm just here." "Don't do that," I snapped. "If you have something to say, say it." She exhaled sharply, rubbing her temples. And then, with a voice as calm as if she were commenting on the weather, she said it. "I married you out of pity." The words hit like a gunshot to the chest. I blinked. "What?" She sighed, as if exhausted. "You're brilliant, Ethan. Ruthless, successful. But beneath all of that, you're alone. You don't trust anyone." And I felt sorry for you. I stared at her, searching for some sign that this was a twisted joke, that she would take it back. But she didn't. She just stood there, unbothered, as if she hadn't just shattered me. "So all of this," I gestured around us, "at the life we built, at the love I thought we had, was just an act?" She shrugged. "I thought maybe I could grow to love you. But love doesn't work like that, does it?" Something inside me snapped. I didn't yell, didn't beg. I just walked away. The illusion was over, and I was done playing the fool. That night, I made a decision. Claire had entered my life through a door of privilege and luxury. I would show her what it meant to leave through that same door, permanently. By morning, her credit cards were frozen. Her access to my assets was revoked. Every ounce of comfort she had taken for granted, gone. I wasn't a man who took betrayal lightly, and she was about to learn that firsthand. They say power is having everything. But true power? True power is having everything and knowing exactly when to take it away. The morning after Claire's confession, I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I simply acted. She wanted to marry me out of pity? Fine. Let's see how pity pays the bills. The first call I made was to my attorney, Vincent Moore. A pit bull in a suit. File for separation. I told him, my voice cold, clipped, effective immediately, and revoke every access she has to my accounts. There was a pause. Everything? Everything, I said. Freeze her cards, remove her from the properties, and cancel her memberships, cars, spa, boutiques. I want her name erased from my financial world. Vincent, ever the professional, didn't ask questions. Consider it done. I hung up and felt nothing. No rage. No sadness. Just an icy resolve. She married me out of pity? Let's see how deep that pity runs when her world turns to ash. The cracks appeared almost immediately. The first came with her usual morning routine. I was in my study, pretending to work but listening. A scream. A sharp, frustrated shriek from the bedroom. Moments later, Claire stormed in, her phone clenched in her hand. "Ethan," she snapped, her voice sharp, "why is my credit card declined?" I didn't look up from my laptop. "Because it's no longer active." She froze. "You canceled my cards?" "I revoked your access to my accounts," I said flatly, my fingers still typing. "You're no longer entitled to my finances." Her lips pressed into a thin line. Her cheeks flushed with anger. "You can't be serious." I finally looked at her then. Dead serious. Her eyes narrowed. "You're punishing me because I told you the truth?" "No," I said calmly. "I'm punishing you because you built a life on a lie. Now, you can see how it feels when that lie collapses." She scoffed, flipping her hair back, masking the crack in her voice. "I don't need your money. I can handle myself." I smiled faintly. "Good. Prove it." Claire tried. God, did she try. But pride doesn't pay bills. The luxury car service she relied on? Gone. Her personal driver dismissed on the spot. Now she hailed cabs like everyone else, when she could afford them. The mansion? She stayed for 2 more weeks, stubbornly clinging to the illusion of normalcy, until my lawyer's notice arrived. The property was mine. Her name had never been on the deed. "You're throwing me out of our home," she spat, her eyes blazing. "Our home?" I echoed, leaning against the marble countertop. "No, Claire. This was always my home. You were a guest." She left with 2 suitcases and her pride. Everything else stayed, because everything else was mine. Claire kept up appearances, though. I'll give her credit for that. On social media, her life still glittered. Filtered photos of brunches and borrowed outfits from friends. Inspirational captions about independence and resilience. Hashtag new beginnings. Hashtag self-made. Hashtag unbothered. But behind the scenes, she was sinking. Fast. The tabloids buzzed. "Power couple splits," screamed the headlines. But Claire, ever the actress, played it cool. "Claire," a reporter cornered her outside a cafe, "how are you holding up after the separation?" She smiled sweetly, her voice velvet. "I'm fine. Ethan and we're just on different paths. I wish him well." But I saw through it. That smile? That wasn't peace. That was borrowed pride. Thin, fragile, and cracking by the day. I heard the real story from Vincent, who monitored the financial fallout. Her savings, what little she had, vanished fast. Shopping habits die hard, and without my limitless accounts, her credit cards bled dry. Bills piled up. Her phone, her car lease, even her apartment. Everything burned through the remnants of her independence. And the friends? The ones who toasted champagne by her side? They vanished faster than her money. No one wants to be around when the bottle stops popping. But Claire? She kept pretending. Even when the eviction notice hit her new apartment's door. 2 months passed. Then, it happened. My phone buzzed late one evening. Her name lit the screen. I let it ring, and stop. Seconds later, a message, Ethan, please, I need to talk. Another buzz. I can't do this. I read it and felt, what? Satisfaction? No, something colder. She had hit the bottom, right where I knew she would. But pity? No. She spent that currency long ago. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying, you said you didn't need me. So don't. Then, I blocked her. Let her feel what I felt, alone, stripped bare of illusion. Because this was just the beginning. I always believe that people show their true colors when the spotlight fades, when there's no applause, no audience, no wealth to hide behind. Claire was no exception. But this time, I wasn't watching from the shadows. I had stepped away, closed the door, and waited to see if she'd try to open it, or simply walk away. I heard about her decline through whispers. The same circles that once adored her were now watching her fall. The luxury cars? Repossessed. The mansion? Gone. Credit cards? Declined. The same friends who clung to her at parties, sipping champagne and laughing at her jokes, had vanished. Fake loyalty dissolves fast when there's nothing left to gain. I saw the headlines, Claire Blackwood spotted leaving high-end boutique, card declined, and the vultures online tore her apart. But it wasn't the headlines that stayed with me. It was the photo. Her face, stripped of its usual polish, eyes hollowed from something deeper than embarrassment, humility. I found out she was facing eviction. The penthouse, once her palace, was reduced to cardboard boxes and unpaid bills. The landlord, a man who once groveled for her favor at charity galas, now hammered the notice on her door without a second glance. I imagined her standing there, alone, stripped of every comfort, finally seeing the world without the golden filter she once hid behind. They say people don't change. They simply reveal who they are when the world stops giving them what they want. But was that really true? Because something about this felt different. I heard she turned down offers from tabloids. They wanted her to sell her pain, Claire Blackwood, from penthouse to pavement. She could have made a fortune from a sob story, but she said no. Why? The Claire I married would have made it a cover story with a perfume line to match. But this Claire? She vanished from the public eye entirely. Then, something arrived. Not a text, not a voicemail, a letter, handwritten, from her. Ethan, I don't know if you'll read this. I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. I used to think I married you for security. Maybe at first, I did. But I see it differently now. The truth is, I never knew what security was until you were gone. You didn't buy my comfort, Ethan. You were my comfort. Your patience. Your loyalty. The way you looked at me like I was more than everything I owned. And I threw that away. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know that. But I needed you to know. I see it now. I see you. Claire, I sat with that letter longer than I care to admit. My hands, steady through boardroom battles and market crashes, felt shaky. I could almost hear her voice through every word. Not polished, not rehearsed, just raw. But was it too late? Could words on a page fix a heart she shattered? I didn't know. But I knew one thing. I wasn't ready to answer. Not yet. So, I folded the letter, kept it, and waited. Waited to see if this was just a moment of weakness, or the start of something real. 2 months. That's how long silence stretched between us. Thick, heavy, and absolute. I hadn't replied to her letter. I wasn't sure how. Part of me wanted to burn it. Another part kept reading it, searching between the lines for truth or manipulation. I told myself I was done with her. But if that was true, why did every ring of the doorbell make my pulse jump? And then, she came. It was pouring that night. Sheets of cold rain lashed against my windows. I wasn't expecting anyone, but something made me check the front camera. There she stood, soaked to the bone. No makeup, no designer coat, no bodyguards, just Claire. I should have turned away, but I opened the door. Her voice was barely a whisper above the rain. Ethan, I kept my expression cold, unreadable. What are you doing here? Her lips trembled, and for the first time, her eyes, those same eyes that once sparkled with confidence, were now soft, vulnerable, pleading. I need to talk to you, she said, her voice cracking. Please. I crossed my arms. You already said everything, Claire. In court, in the papers, and in that letter you sent me. She swallowed hard, and her voice broke. No, I never said what really mattered. She stepped closer, the rain making her shiver. But I didn't invite her in. Not yet. I lied, she said, about everything. I didn't marry you out of pity, Ethan. She bit her lip, her voice tight with regret. I married you because I thought, if I owned love, I'd never lose it. But I was wrong. You didn't owe me love. You gave it to me, freely, and I threw it away. I felt my jaw clench. You didn't just throw it away, Claire. You crushed it. Her voice was desperate. I know, and I hate myself for it. I didn't understand what I had until her voice caught, until I lost you. The silence between us was unbearable. The storm outside was nothing compared to the war inside me. I had spent months building walls around my heart. She was standing there now, pounding on them, and yet, I didn't let her in. You don't get to rewrite the past with tears, Claire, I said, my voice cold but firm. You hurt me, and now that the money's gone, you want me back? Her eyes flashed, not with anger, but pain. No, I want you. Not your money, not your name, just you. I could have ended it there, shut the door, walked away forever. But something inside me, call it hope, or maybe just curiosity, stopped me. I met her gaze, my voice steady. You say you want me, not my fortune. So prove it. If you want a second chance, show me who you truly are without the money. Her eyes widened, but she didn't flinch. No handouts. No shortcuts. You want me back? I continued. Then rebuild, without my name or my credit. Find out who you are without me. Her lips pressed together, and for a moment, I thought she'd turn and run. But then, okay. Her voice was soft but certain. I'll do it. I watched her step back into the storm. No further protests, no bargaining. Just acceptance. The door closed. The rain pounded on the roof, and for the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Hope. I had always believed that people only change for two reasons, desperation or pain. Claire had experienced both. But the question gnawed at me. Was her transformation real, or just another carefully staged performance? So, I watched. Not from shadows, not through private investigators. I didn't need them. Claire's life was unfolding publicly, humbly, and without the usual masks. The woman I once knew lived for luxury, private jets, designer labels, and cocktail parties filled with shallow laughter. But this Claire, I spotted her behind the counter of a small cafe. Hair tied back, sleeves rolled up, she served customers with a smile that felt unpracticed, real. Her nails, once manicured to perfection, were short and chipped. The hands that once waved champagne glasses now carried trays and wiped tables. No cameras, no audience, only sweat and effort. But was it enough? One afternoon, I found myself there, half out of curiosity, half from some unspoken pull. The bell chimed as I entered, and her back stiffened. She recognized me without turning. Her voice, steady but soft. Coffee? Black, I replied, matching her tone. When she placed the cup before me, our eyes met. She looked exhausted, but beneath the weariness, something flickered, resolve. I didn't speak, and she didn't ask why I was there. But as she walked away, I noticed something else, her tips. She quietly slipped a portion into a donation jar for a local shelter. The next day, my past came knocking. Ethan Blackwood. A voice drawled from behind me as I left my office. I turned, my jaw tightening. Darius Hale. He stepped forward, his grin sharp as a blade. Been a while. You've done well, but success makes you careless. I felt the old fire rise. If you're here to settle a score, make it quick. I'm busy. But Darius chuckled, slow and dangerous. Not yet. You see, I don't want your money, Ethan. I want your peace. His eyes glinted, and I found the perfect way to take it. A cold realization hit me. Claire, he smiled wider. She's quite the headline, isn't she? Ex-wife of a tycoon, fallen from grace. Vulnerable. He leaned in. I wonder, will she be your weakness or your downfall? That night, I visited Claire's tiny apartment. No mansion, no security gates, just 4 worn walls and a flickering porch light. When she opened the door, surprise flashed across her face. Ethan? I stepped inside, the tension crackling. Darius Hale is back, I said without preamble. He's dangerous, and he's targeting you. Stay alert. Her brow furrowed. Why would he come after me? I met her eyes. Because of me. She crossed her arms. You came all this way to warn me? My voice lowered. No, I came to ask you something. Her eyes searched mine, wary but open. Ask. I stepped closer. If he approaches you, with money, with promises, with lies, what will you do? A sharp silence. Then, her voice, steady and clear. I don't want his money, and I'm done with lies. I left without another word, my heart a battlefield. Had she truly changed? Or would Darius's temptation reveal the truth? Only time, and her choices, would tell. I should have known Darius wouldn't waste time. He was a predator, patient but swift when the trap was set. And this time, the bait wasn't my wealth. It was Claire. The call came late, a distorted voice on the other end. You care for her more than you let on, Blackwood. So, here's a game. Come alone, or I'll show you what regret tastes like. My heart pounded. Where is she? The line clicked. A text followed. An abandoned warehouse on Pier 17. My blood ran cold. I didn't hesitate. The warehouse reeked of rust and decay. Dim shafts of light pierced through shattered windows, casting long, jagged shadows. Ethan. Claire's voice, hoarse but alive. She was bound to a chair, a bruise darkening her cheek. And beside her, Darius Hale. His smile was venom. You came. How predictable. My fists clenched. Let her go, Darius. This is between us. He circled her, his voice mockingly smooth. Oh, but she's part of it now. Funny, isn't it? The woman who once saw you as a wallet, now your weakness. Before I could move, Darius pulled a gun, his eyes glinting. Time for a choice, Blackwood. Her, or your empire. But what happened next, I never saw coming. No. Claire, with a sudden, desperate force, kicked the chair backward, slamming Darius off balance. The gun swung toward me, and she moved. The shot rang out, deafening. Claire crumpled. My world stopped. Claire. I was at her side before I could think, my hands pressing to her wound. Stay with me. Stay with me. Her lips trembled. Ethan, I didn't want you to. Tires screeched outside. Sirens. Darius fled, but I didn't care. My world was right here, bleeding. Hours later. Hospital. White walls. Machines beeping. Claire's eyes fluttered open, and I was there. Hey! Her voice was weak, but there. I gripped her hand. Warm, alive. My voice cracked. You're safe. She managed a faint smile. Didn't know. I had a hero complex, huh? A broken chuckle escaped me, but my voice turned raw. Why did you do that, Claire? Her eyes, soft but sure. Because I finally know what's worth saving. I leaned closer, my voice low but certain. Claire, You didn't have to risk your life to prove anything. Her lips pressed together, a flicker of something unspoken. I wasn't trying to prove anything, Ethan. I was protecting the only thing that ever really mattered. Silence. But between us, truth. No fortune. No lies. Just us. Her voice, soft but clear. I don't expect you to forgive me for the past. And if you can't, I'll walk away. She swallowed. But I needed you to know. I choose you. Not your money. You. The air between us felt endless. I could hold her, promise her forever. But I knew words were cheap. So I said, simply, love is earned, Claire, not bought. Her eyes didn't waver. I know. I stood up, then offered my hand. A silent choice. She paused, then took it. No promises. No guarantees. Just two people, ready to try. Months later, no lavish headlines. No power games. Just two lives, rebuilding from truth. Claire found her own path, without my fortune. And I found something I thought I lost. Her. The real her. And together, we earned us. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful tales that capture the heart. What would you have done in Ethan's shoes? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, stay inspired and keep believing in second chances. See you soon.